1977, the first public school opened in Lennox Street on this corner. Total enrolment was about 25 students. As Quirindi grew rapidly following the arrival of the railway line, the school population also increased. In 1891, a new school was built in Hill Street, costing £2,700. In that year, 5th class, which was as far as you could go, had 20 pupils enrolled. Later, it was upgraded to Quirindi Superior Public School so that secondary students could be educated there. This is a staff photo of 1935. The foundation stone for this first building on our present site was laid by the Minister of Education in 1935. The cost of the site preparation for the new school was £1,822. The total contracted cost of the new building work was £15,670. Today this investment would be in the millions of dollars. As Australia was still suffering its worst economic downturn in history, the Great Depression, this was a remarkable investment in public education by the government.
The new Quirindi District Rural School was opened in 1936 by Director General of Education Mr. Ross Thomas. Mr. J.R. Taylor erected the main gates in memory of his wife Robina. The mottos on the plaques were inspired by those on Mrs. Taylor's American diploma. Like any new building, its appearance was quite stark until softened by the planting of trees. The school bell is from the original 1877 school site. It is still there and is sometimes used today. The bell was central to the daily routine. The man with the whistle is believed to be Mr. Bill Beattie, the manual arts teacher. To get to school, children walked or rode bicycles. Some pupils, like our special guest Mr. Tony Kane, got a lift in a truck. In 1938, the enrolment of 149, of whom 70 pupils came from outside the town area. A major issue at the time was providing an education for children in Werris Creek. Some of them went to Tamworth High, and some caught the regular passenger train south to Quirindi. Unfortunately, this meant they didn't get to school until about 10 a.m. To solve this problem, there was an even consideration given to establishing a hostel for boarders. A school bus service was introduced for pupils from Wollabadar and Willow Tree.
Our first principal, Mr. Sheridan, is seen here with Mrs. Sheridan raising the flag. Initially, teachers rarely stayed long. Most lived in hotels or private board. The staff of the Quirindi District Rural School were based in the single upstairs room, which is now the maths staff room. Mr. Jack Sheridan was our first principal. Other teachers are Mr. Russ Bell, Primary and Sports, Mr. Hinchy, Booth and Harvey, General Teachers, Merv Dive, Betty Newborn, History and Geography, Miss Wood, Chips, Primary and First Year. The pupils were much more regimented than today. Daily assembly involved saluting the flag, and there was a lot of marching. These pupils are marching past the southeastern corner of the building. This is hard to recognise because it was later extended.
Boys and girls were segregated in the playground, and the curriculum was quite gender specific. PT, physical training, was considered important. For recreation, girls had folk dancing in the girls' playground, which is now the Year 7 area.
Boys undertook PT in the boys' playground, which is now the Year 12 area. Girls learned domestic science subjects such as cooking and the new kitchen.
Boys took metalwork and woodwork in the old wooden building, now the art room named for J.C. Murdoch. These girls are playing in front of the bike shed, which ran down through the quadrangle. The game was then known as basketball. Its name was later changed to netball, presumably to distinguish it from the game imported from the USA.
Mr. Tony Kane played football for QDRS. In 1939, they had a tough game and narrowly beat Canada. Afterwards, he was presented with the Taylor Cup by J.R. Taylor himself. Sports teacher Mr. Russell Bell made a big impact on the school. This is his gymnastic display in 1940. As well as playing in the local A-grade football team, he was a keen balsa wood modeller and inspired many young students. He is also credited with taking this movie footage of the school. Here he is on the left at an athletics carnival. Mr. Bob Austin, who died recently, receiving a sporting trophy in his senior years at school, probably 1944. Students can now go beyond third year because in 1943 this had become the state's first intermediate high school. This group went to fifth year and graduated with a leaving certificate in 1946. This is the staff in 1946. Note Mr. Max Moore, top left, who taught here for 37 years. In 1954, this school was made a full high school. The whole school could still fit into the assembly hall, which is now the staff common room. Here students could hear a speech by the principal or watch a film or play. The hall was also used for regular dances with a live band. Gymnastic apparatus was incorporated in the room's design. Sometimes a rope square would be erected and boxing was organised by the Police Citizens Boys Club. By 1958 the staff had expanded and the atmosphere was at times a little more relaxed. Mr. Max Moore, centre, taught here until 1983. The school had a militia from the earliest days. After World War II broke out, many cadets went on to join the army, including Mr. Kane. Cadets continued for decades after the war. Their equipment and weapons were kept locked up in the very secure armoury below what is now the councillor's office. Swimming has long been a popular sport at Quirindi High School. Mr. Brian Stenner, a champion swimmer, joined the staff in 1959 and is shown here coaching in 1960. He taught metalwork and woodwork here for 34 years. The new Technics building was named for he and Mr. Max Moore.
Being an Australian school, all sports were followed avidly. When opposing house teams were introduced, there were only three houses: Cunningham, Liverpool and Oxley. Athletics carnivals included tunnel ball and overhead ball competitions. The Scrimmager Cup was the focus of competition between Quirindi, Scone and Gunnedah secondary schools. Sometimes even the boys played tunnel ball.
Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right, noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, my how they fly, blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from...
Athletics carnivals always included formal marching. And more marching. The marching was good. As the children of World War II servicemen reached high school age in the 1960s, more buildings were added. First the Smallman Wing. Next came the Bassett Building and then the MPC, which was later named for J.R. Taylor. By this time, Quirindi High School offered an innovative curriculum via the semester system, which this school pioneered. Students now had a much greater variety in their education and had to make choices and decisions of their own. You can go your own way. By the 1980s, enrolment was near 700. The staff now numbered in their 40s. You can go your own way. Go your own way. Tell me why. During a very cold snap in 1984, snow fell. It was July 4th. Classwork stopped, everyone went outside. Snowballs were thrown and a couple of snowmen were built in the playground. If I could, baby, I'd give you my world.
What's changed? The size of the school has changed, the facilities have improved, but some things never change. Quirindi High School has preserved many fine traditions. Students still wear the maroon and gold, play in the quadrangle and do their best at sports carnivals and inter-school visits. Pride in our school is undiminished.
Go your own way.